Welcome to the Project, the podcast with the mission to cover every project throughout pop culture and history. I'm Sam.
And I'm Lewis.
And this week we're talking about Zeta Project's episode 9 and 10.
Yes, this will be our penultimate episode of season 1 of Zeta Project.
Yeah.
We've been going for quite a while
It's been
now.
going for quite a while, at least a year, I'd imagine. Maybe this time last year we started.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Yeah, you guys will have to go back and look. I think it was like episode 17 or something, but that can't
Well, it
be
was
right,
9,
can it?
ended in 9 for us. It might have been 19.
It may be,
which
yeah.
would have been last year, yeah.
So we've thrown that off a little bit in the middle with a couple other ongoings.
Blame Lazarus Project.
Blame Lazarus, the best thing we've watched this year, potentially.
And potentially Project October might have thrown out a
that's
bit.
it. But yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. We've got time codes in the episode description. So if you want to skip straight to that or skip to personal projects, you're very welcome to. I've got a couple of new films to talk about in personal projects, including Enola Holmes 2 and Don't Worry, Darling.
Oh,
You got anything worthwhile at the top there?
Not off the top of my head,
That's
so you'll have to
alright.
wait
We'll
and
get
find
back
out.
to that.
I've
but-
got an hour to remember.
That's it. Before we get into anything else, how are you today, Lewis?
Yes, not bad. It's halfway through the week.
Yeah.
It's getting very dark very early.
It is pitch black.
I moved seats in the office a few weeks
Not
ago.
the project office.
No, and I now sit with my back to the window. So every now and then I turn around and have a look out the window. But it's got to the point where sometimes I just turn around and it's just suddenly pitch black, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shit, when
Who
did that
turned out the
happen?
lights?
Yeah, so it's a bit depressing, but
Yeah.
you know, we'll go on through.
Well, we'll keep going through for you
Yes.
guys, you listeners. We'll
Yeah.
keep recording in the darkness.
How are you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah, it's been a bit of a weird week. It's moved very quickly. I've been a bit unwell still, as you can kind of hear maybe from my voice, but not quite as bad as last episode, I'm hoping, when I could barely muster any fun jokes or
I
quips.
didn't even notice.
Oh, well, I very much noticed. So that makes me think you haven't listened to the episode yet. Then.
I was being nice.
Well, so yeah, apologies for anyone who had to listen through that last episode, even though it was fantastic content-wise. But yeah, no, I'm feeling good. I'm back in the habit, I was going to say, but I'm not wearing a habit. We're dressed up as nuns for today's episode.
I didn't get the reference.
No. It's like Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. So
is that what that's referring
that's what
to?
that's referring to, yeah.
Okay, I
'Cause,
don't know much Catholicism.
No, yeah. I mean, it's just a bit of knowledge, in it?
Just a bit of knowledge in it.
So what's that first segment then, Lewis?
Oh, you mean? Project News.
Yeah, that's the one. That's it.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
'Cause it'd be embarrassing if it was a different one. So I've got a couple of bits this week. As always, I've Googled the word project and had a look to see what I could find.
Yeah, good.
The first one is from comicbookmovie.com.
Mm.
Yeah, classic in that
Classic.
genre. And it is Barbarian director hopes his dream Batman project could become a reality under new DCU leadership.
Okay, yeah.
I've been seeing lots of great reviews of Barbarian. Someone I work with went to see it and said it was very good. And the director, Zach Kreger, recently revealed that he's written a Batman-adjacent script. And with James Gunn and Peter Safran in charge of the DCU, is hoping that he
could
could
just transplant some of those names and make it a Batman script.
Yeah, maybe. I think it'll be one of the. It'll be like the Joker type thing, where
Right.
it's
Oh,
using-
okay. Rather than it being like, this is a mystery detective thriller, I'm just going to pop Batman's name in there.
No, I think
okay.
given his horror background, it may be some of the
Yeah.
more scary Batman villains, maybe like a Scarecrow film or something.
Yeah.
that
No, I
he's
don't know too
written.
much about Barbarian, but like you, I've heard good things. I think it's fairly recent. I think it's just in cinemas at the moment.
Yeah, it
isn't
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's got a terrifying twist. It's terrifyingly twisted.
Okay. Yeah.
But I've heard it's quite good. But yeah, I didn't realize James Gunn was now heading the DCU.
Yeah, so they had a bit of a. So they've been taken over by Discovery, and they had to cut loads of things, which is why loads of Warner Brothers stuff's been. So Warner Brothers took over. Discovery took over Warner Brothers. So now it's Warner Brothers Discovery, like hyphenated, or the other way around. and they were looking for their Kevin Feige to run DC, and they've decided on James Gunn is doing the story side of things, the creative side, and there's another guy who's like the producer,
Peter Safran,
yeah. And people are mixed about it because a lot of people don't like James Gunn on the DC side, partly because they're like, oh, he's too Marvel or whatever.
But he did one of the best DCU films.
Did you ever see? Oh no, you should watch that.
Yeah, no.
I'd quite like to watch it again. I always forget. Is it The Suicide Squad?
It's The Suicide Squad.
So The Suicide Squad. Yeah, no, I think that is probably the best DC. And they've also changed the name. Now it's called DCU.
Yeah.
Which is that Detective Comics universe?
Well, I think it's just DC Universe.
Yeah. Or it's DC is the D, and then it's C is cinematic and U is universe.
I think they're just MCU works, just DCU.
Yeah. Because it comes after The Rock was tweeting about Black Adam saying, this is what's it called? Phase 1. This is the end of phase 1 now. Or like this is, I think he said this is phase 1. And considering the mixed kind of reactions there, it's like
it's been a long phase 1.
Yeah. And there's also claims that so spoilers if you don't know about anything with Black Adam, but we haven't seen it, but we know that Henry Cavill does make an appearance right at the end. We talked about it last episode. There's been lots of claims that James Gunn wants to make Henry Cavill more of a part of it, which makes sense if they've got him back on board. Whereas The Rock wants Black Adam to take more of the lead because he wants to take over his own franchise.
Of course he does.
And he's been kicked out of Fast and Furious seemingly and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But James Gunn is definitely... You haven't seen Peacemaker either, have you?
Nope.
Which it follows on from The Suicide Squad, so you shouldn't really have anyway. But... I would recommend both. I think they are some of the better superhero stuff.
Cool. I mean, like as comic book fans, like I don't want to take part in this whole Marvel versus DC stuff. I just want to see some good movies. If DC pick it up and start making some quality movies, fantastic.
It's even just having someone at the reins who can guide the overall thing.
Yeah.
If he can do that, good for him.
And if they go down this route with Zach Cregger and just do a horror film and be like, we're using these characters, but we're going to make it a horror film. Cool, do that because it's not something Marvel. They've kind of touched on it, but never fully delved into.
And the DC universe has always been known as a bit more dark and gritty, so they can delve more.
Classic 3 words: dark and gritty.
It's almost like dark and gritty could be dark and gritty DC. But we've had Joker, like you mentioned, and that was farthest from the comic book kind of standard that you can get. So why not do something more like that? Yeah, absolutely.
So the other bit of comic book news I've got.
Is it all comic book news?
No, actually, I was going to say project news, but my phone has frozen.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to restart it.
Do it from memory.
From memory. It was from one we use quite a lot, which is NME.
NME, New Musical Express.
Yes, and it was James Acaster announces his new musical project, Temps.
I did see something about this. Yes, because I'm a fan of James Acaster, but I haven't watched a lot of his stuff. He's got a Netflix 3-part stand-up special, which is Repertoire, I think. It's supposed to be very good. But whenever I see him pop up and stuff, and he's got the podcast menu, something off menu. It's one of the ones that's always on the top lists, but I think I've got a bit of like, I don't want to listen to the most popular podcast because I'm too cool for that.
He's definitely in the last couple of years become more and more of a household name.
Definitely, yeah.
But he described this project as like a DIY Gorillaz.
Oh yes, I did hear something about this.
And he's got like a load of guests on it.
Okay.
And actually, I listened to the one song he's released on the way here.
Did you? Okay.
It is chaos.
Is it? Okay.
It's quite chaotic. It's like nearly 6 minutes long.
I'm gonna add it to Spotify.
And it's part of it is like a random collection of sound. They've got some guest vocalists, and you don't hear James Acaster at any point. He's just kind of maneuvering it all about.
Yeah.
I can't say I loved it.
I don't recognize any of these featured artists.
Yeah, it features Kel Chris, Zena Rubinos, Shamir, Namdi, and Seb Rockford.
Yeah, don't recognize any of those off the top of my head. Yeah, but the mascot, it seems to, rather than it being a cartoony thing, is a mascot suit kind of character.
Yeah, like a football
It
mascot.
looks like a platypus, I want to say.
Yeah,
Maybe some sort of alligator type thing, but yeah, interesting. Okay,
so
good for him. Yeah.
apparently the album will come out next year and will be a mix of atmospheric alt rock, unorthodox hip hop, and loose jazz time signatures.
Oh, it does say party gator on his top, so I imagine
Oh,
it's
there
an
you go.
alligator. Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to it and it is bizarre. Like there is strange time signatures, weird kind of sounds thrown in there, and it's long, but it doesn't follow a normal song structure.
Right.
It's an interesting.
He seems like quite a wacky kind of eccentric guy,
Yeah.
doesn't he? So
I can't say I've listened to it again, but it's
No.
worth listening to because it might just hit that spot for you.
Yeah, no, I will check it out. I've just added it on Spotify, so I'll listen to it tomorrow morning probably.
There we go. So that is my project news for this week.
Yeah.
There will be more next week.
As with most news kind of things.
Yes.
It's not normally a
Join
one-off,
us
is
next
it?
time on Project News. Following this show will be the Zeta Project.
It will be the Zeta Project. It's episode 9 we're starting with, which is Crime Waves.
Yes. So the Google description of the Zeta Project is a robot rebels against its creators, refusing to kill and goes on the run.
Yes.
We've gone in depth about the details behind it in the past.
It's
basically,
a 2001 kind of Saturday morning kids cartoon.
Yeah, spin-off from Batman Beyond.
Yes, or Batman of the Future as it was known in the UK.
Yeah.
It says it aired on Kids WB. I would have thought it would have aired on Cartoon Network, which we were just talking about off pod.
Yeah.
Has recently just aired its final cartoon, according to the
what
internet.
was the last thing they showed?
I don't know. Shall I look it up now?
Yeah, they must have picked something like particular.
Weirdly
surely.
enough, I saw something that I was going to bring up for. Oh, it doesn't come up here. There's something I was going to bring up send to you for Project News. So this 1 month ago, Cartoon Network Studios is not shutting down, says Warner Bros. But I think it's just the studio is going to keep making stuff. Anyway, there was a tweet that was about the Scooby-Doo Blair Witch crossover. And it was saying, it was like when someone on a social media for a company does a little kind of viral tweet.
Yeah.
They were like, sorry for traumatizing all you 90s kids with this thing. And it like linked a clip to it, which is something that we haven't talked about yet, but something we may be looking at, around this time next year, potentially.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, it didn't air on Cartoon Network. It was on Kids WB, apparently. But it's that sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So, do you want to give us a brief? It's very episodic, but a brief overview of what the season's been so far.
Yeah, basically, Zeta is an infiltration droid or android or whatever. So he's like a bit of a kind of C-3PO kind of, or what's K2SO, more like that from Star Wars. He's got a similar kind of personality to those two. He's a bit like Clueless, but well-meaning.
Yeah,
and he can use a holographic kind of camouflage to blend in. But despite his kind of purpose, he's gone on a good turn, and he's trying to do the right thing. He's mainly trying to prove that he is a good person by tracking down his creator. He's also very useless at doing all of his infiltration. He's constantly changing his disguise at the wrong time, or like sticking his arms out or his legs out in this episode. And he's got this friend called Ro, who's a teenage human girl. And she's a runaway, and she's helping him, and they go on wacky adventures. They're chased by the NSA in every other episode. And overall they're trying to find Dr. Selig, I think he's called, or Selig. I think it's Selig. And this episode, I think, mentions once like, where's Dr. Selig, or maybe it's the next episode.
But like I say, it's very episodic, and there is this overarching plot, but generally each episode is they're running away from something.
That's it. And they get into wacky kind of situations of being runaways and being chased by stuff. And it's generally speaking, it's
what you'd expect from a 2000s morning cartoon.
Yeah.
So the first episode is Crime Waves.
Yes.
Do you want to have a guess at the IMDb rating for this episode?
I'm gonna go with like 6.
It was 7.3.
Fair.
I think TV shows and particularly kids shows tend to rate higher.
Yeah, I as we've spoken about not that long ago, I kind of do this bit on autopilot because I don't really know where to go with it, so it never settles in my brain. And then and then every time I'm like, did I is 6 good? 6 good?
And then every time you explain that it doesn't settle in your brain, you don't really remember.
Because it never settles in my brain.
Yeah. So this episode opens and they're on a nice sunny beach. Rose like sunbathing in a swimsuit.
Yeah.
And then Zeta kind of steps in her way and is blocking the sun.
Yes.
She tells him to blend in, and he basically does blackface.
Well, first of all, he changes into a summer outfit,
a cool hip t-shirt,
and then she's like, "Just chill out and tan," and then he heavily tans his skin immediately.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's a little bit darker than you might expect, but I think that's he's just clueless, isn't he? He doesn't understand anything like that.
Then a bunch of hover bikes come flying past them, and you've got these 3 bullies chasing this kid on hover bikes.
They're kind of like almost like bikers, but like slightly younger. It's kind of unclear how old
like
they
a
are.
teenage gang,
and they're chasing this kid who we find out is like a rich kid. But
he crashes and then runs and he trips over and then he runs again.
And he's calling out for this guy called Sven, who we again find out is his bodyguard, who's conveniently missing at the time there, isn't he?
But the bullies basically catch up to this kid, and then Zeta kind of sees him in trouble, runs over, and
he throws like a parasol, doesn't he?
Yeah, it destroys one of the bikes. The other 2 drive away. Ro throws a towel on one of them and it crashed into a volleyball net.
Yes.
The other one drives away and they've kind of gone away. We've kind of they go to see if the kid's all right.
Yeah.
He introduced himself as Wade Pennington.
Right.
So you know he's posh.
Yes. He's like the heir of a robotics company or something.
Yeah.
Which is a bit like Billy Kimura in our previous episode on That's the West.
Although I think I prefer Billy.
Me too. This guy is
who's somehow less snobby than this kid.
Yes.
Anyway, the bodyguard Sven turns up.
Yeah.
And
he's like, sorry, my bike jammed or something.
Yeah, and Wade's like, he's useless. It turns out they've been harassed for like weeks by this biker gang.
Yeah, we don't really get much detail, but I guess it's intentionally vague for the plot, isn't it?
And he's like, you 2 will join me for lunch.
And they're like, okay. I guess it's a free lunch for them.
Yeah, I mean, all lunch is free for them
because they've got the unlimited card, haven't they?
Because they break the law all the time to steal food.
Yeah. Zeta's got like he can just generate a card that's just basically just scams everyone, doesn't he?
But yeah, they go to this like fancy house. It's one of those classic like beach mansion type things.
I think later on they say they're on Miami Island, which I guess implies that Miami has somehow been cut off in the future and is an island. But maybe there is an island off Miami.
Maybe it's just off the coast or something.
But it's and he's got all these security robots. Sven introduces them to the place, and he's like, I'm hired for security. These are all my security bots. And they're like, almost like RoboCop, like big gun walker kind of things, aren't they?
Also, Sven is exactly how you'd imagine a bodyguard called Sven to look.
He looks like that guy from Die Hard who has the ponytail, doesn't he?
And he's like big and broad, blonde hair, and you're like, yeah, that's a Sven.
That's a Sven, blonde ponytail. And doesn't Wade ask for some lemonade?
Yeah, the bots bring him some lemonade, and at first Ro's like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But Wade is when they like chasing him, they call him a brat.
Yeah, and
he's literally he's like, no, this doesn't have the lemonade how I wanted it.
He says something like, I want it to make my lips pucker up like something. So he wants it more sour. And then he's basically being mean to all the bots. And there's one that's massaging him, and he's like, this is like a tickle, not a massage.
He's like, harder. I was like, oh god. He also explains at this point that his dad's away on business and his mum's skiing.
That's right.
So he's kind of got the place
he says, this is just me and my unlimited card. And then Zeta's like, I've got one too. And they're like, shut up. And then, he makes an example of one of the robots, doesn't he?
Yeah, because he's like, I can do whatever I want. So he throws his watch into the swimming pool that's there.
Yeah.
And he says to one of the robots, go get it.
Yeah.
The robot jumps in, grabs it, and jumps back out, and then like breaks down because the water damage.
And while it's like moving around electrocuted, it knocks something over, and then Wade falls in the pool.
Yeah.
And Zeta goes to get him, and then Ro's just like, nah, just leave him. Like, I think she repeats the same thing that he said about the robot. So it's just
and Wade's like, Sven! And Sven shoots the robot.
Yeah, he's got like a weird gun that looks like a weird kind of torch.
It's kind of like a focused EMP type thing.
Yeah,
it shuts down.
And then Ro's just like, nah, you're a dick, we're leaving. And he's like, oh.
He's like, I don't get many visitors. And it's like, they're like, I wonder why,
you little prick.
Yeah. They do their classic almost bi-weekly thing of going to a computer, like an internet cafe.
Yeah. And they're like, where's and they go, let's find selling. And it's like, I'm glad they at least mention that they're trying to keep it going.
Soon interrupted by the news flashing up, and it's Wade has been kidnapped.
Wade's kidnapped.
And they're like, they're interviewing the bodyguard, and he's like, well, there was two strangers here for lunch, and describes Zeta and Ro, and it was like, adoy.
It's like, oh, it must have been those guys. And they're immediately like, oh my God. And it's like, just change how you look, because it wasn't a picture even, it was a description. It was a blonde girl and a tall dark-haired guy. Zeta can definitely change his hair color.
And
very silly.
Ro can dye her hair.
Yes.
But also, like, they've already established that this biker gang have been harassing him for weeks.
Yeah.
Why aren't they the prime suspects?
Because Sven knows.
I mean, I know, but like, why didn't Sven point the finger at the biker gang?
Because then they could point the finger at him.
How would the biker gang know anything?
They do. We find out that they.
Oh yeah.
So he's trying to cover.
But at this point, I was like, why did he just play the biker gang?
No, immediately I was like, oh, it's really obvious it's this guy because he wasn't there earlier.
Oh, I didn't.
Not thinking about it too much, were you? I guess.
No, I just assumed we introduced some new characters.
No, so they get spotted almost immediately, and they're getting chased by a couple of security guards or cops, and then they kind of do a bit of a chase where some like roller skaters fall over and stuff, and then more like actual police turn up,
and then the police go around the corner, and there's this Rastafarian drummer, just hitting like a big bongos.
Guy hitting bongos,
and they're like, "Where did they go?" And he's like, it's a that away, man.
There's an extra hand comes up as well, so he's got 3 hands, but they don't seem to notice that. And as soon as they've gone, it was Zeta and Ro in disguise together with holograms. But the bongos were real, which is quite funny. They didn't do fake they found some bongos and used that in their disguise.
Zeta's like, we need to find Wade, and Ro's like, why? He's a dick. But Zeta in this episode in particular is a real like moral high ground.
I guess maybe that kind of ties into the next episode in a way, because they talk about how he is a good person and stuff, kind of thing. But they go to visit the bikers, like it's like a chop shop kind of mechanics place, isn't it?
And they're like, where is he? Where's Rachel?
Yeah.
Very much.
But these guys are just like hanging out, and at this point was when I was kind of like, oh, these guys didn't do it, like it's a fake kidnapping situation, right?
But the bikers like attack Zeta, and he just easily just throws them.
Yeah,
aside.
Do they have some sort of like flares or something? Because something catches fire.
One of them gets out like a blowtorch.
Right.
It's like what's it called? Where you like fuse metal.
Like a welding thing.
A welding thing, but it seems more like.
But it's like a portable one, isn't it? Like
and it's like a yellow flame instead of blue, right? So you can see it better. But he starts like waving that around at Zeta. Ro then thinks it's a great idea to throw some petrol at him.
Right, okay, I missed that.
I guess it'd be gas for them.
Yeah.
And amazingly, it blows up. Yeah. And then even more amazingly, everyone's fine.
Well, it sets fire, and then most of them run away, but one guy's on the floor. And then Ro jumps on the guy, and Zeta manages to protect him with his spindly
arms that barely covers them. And there's a big explosion.
They should have done
the roof comes off, the walls fall down.
And also, when the guy wakes up, he's like, "What happened?" He doesn't seem to know that anything
they would be.
They should have done
charred.
like a thing where like some like extra armor bits popped out or something.
Yeah,
because
like
he can
a
do
Groot, like Groot.
Yeah, like a dome shield kind of thing. Yeah, but yeah, when the guy comes to, they question him and he's like, "Oh, we were paid by Sven to hassle Wade."
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, so it is an inside job.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, Sven wants Wade to think that he needs protection,
That's it,
basically.
yeah.
And he's taking
I
him
guess he's
off
an
to a boat.
expensive security guard, but also surely just keep that going.
Yeah, right.
This is it depends how big the paycheck of the hostage situation is.
Yeah,
I guess he hates working for this stupid kid, and he's like, I need to cut my losses. But
I guess, but he had a
it
good,
seems like a risky.
Maybe after the whole thing on the beach, he's worrying about his job security.
Yeah,
because his job security is as unsecure as his security.
Way. And we get a cool bit here where Zeta has scuba feet. Like,
yeah,
it's quite cool.
I was like, it makes sense. We haven't seen it before.
He's
Even
just going along.
They've been to an island before and they hid on a
well,
boat.
Ro mentions it. She's like, when have you had these feet for? But he's just like, yeah, I've just always had these. But it's like one of those things that you grab onto and get like pulled along, like almost like an underwater jet ski with like a spinning propeller. And Ro's just in normal scuba gear on his back.
Yeah, and they get to the boat and there's...
So who is that? Is that a yacht or something?
Yeah.
It's Wade's yacht, is it, I guess?
That makes sense.
Yeah, okay. That'll do.
But there's a ton of security bots on the yacht. And they
see Sven and they're like, look, Sven's collecting the ransom, and the screen says cred transfer complete in like massive text.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, that was a good time to walk in on him there, wasn't it?
Yeah. And as they're watching that, a security bot spots them and shoots at them. Sven hears the commotion, grabs a gun.
His weird little long stick gun that he had before.
And they kind of get cornered by security bots who decide to stop shooting when they've caught up with them.
Yeah.
And they fall back into like a hole. The hole?
Yeah. The hold.
The hold. It's basically
the cargo hold. Yeah.
It makes me think of Jurassic Park 2, where the T-Rex is when it turns up to San Diego.
I was thinking, I almost wrote it down as the brig, but the brig is like somewhere else, isn't it?
It's just
a prison room.
Yeah,
the prison room. Do all boats have a brig?
I guess so.
You just make the brig out of whatever.
Because we saw a brig when we watched Project Blue Book. They were putting the brig for a bit.
I guess if it's a naval ship, or an air force ship,
it could just be a room that can lock from the outside.
Take them to the brig. Yeah. I guess a yacht doesn't need a brig, does it? I mean, if I had a boat, I'd probably put a brig in there.
Just for the fun of it.
And then you could be like, take them to the brig for drinks.
Yeah, it'd be like, play like a drinking game. Loser has to go to the brig.
That'd be fun. Wish I had a yacht.
It would be nice to have a yacht. Yeah,
it would do. Yeah.
But yeah, they fall in the hole hold.
And they see Wade.
Wade is in there.
Yeah, and then Sven basically just like reveals his plan, doesn't he?
He says he's gonna call the police, and tell them he's found the kidnappers and collect the reward.
Well as he's already got the hostage fee as well.
Yeah.
So he's gonna get double reward.
And he's gonna kill Wade.
Yes.
And blame it on Ro and Zeta.
There's quite a lot of that, actually. That happens in the next episode as well, doesn't it? The next episode, the guy's like, I'm going to kill this person and blame it on you, Zeta.
Oh, yeah.
Poor
I guess we've seen so many wanted things from him. He must be like...
Well, it's the NSA, I guess, isn't it?
But like, surely he's on like FBI's most wanted or something at this point.
Yeah, I mean, all the more reason that... Well, it makes sense he's getting cornered every like 5 minutes, but also all the more reason for them to both change their appearance.
Yeah.
It's very, it would be great if season 2 they just change up their appearances a little bit. That would be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A little redesign. Maybe she has slightly different hair.
Yeah.
Probably
Grow out,
grow
diet.
out, diet. He could have different hair, have a different jacket maybe for once.
She always talks about going shopping. She always wears the same clothes.
Yeah. She likes what she likes, you know.
Yeah, but when Sven says he's going to kill them, Wade is shook. He is,
even though he's been kidnapped by this motherfucker.
yes,
here.
he is so surprised.
Yeah,
and then he starts shitting on all the bots because they were easily programmed to go against him.
Yeah,
and whilst he's doing that, Zeta like stretches up to the hole.
I think Sven's walked off at this point, hasn't he?
Yeah. And
Wade's even more shocked.
Wade goes, yeah, you're a robot.
Yeah, because he's like a robot racist, isn't he? Basically.
Yeah. And Zeta he sticks his little like finger out of the top as a camera, and like looks around. He's like, we won't get out that way.
But what do? They climb out over it?
They cut a hole in the side.
Oh yeah,
because that's always a good idea to do on a boat.
Yeah, I mean it depends which side it is, doesn't it? I suppose, but
does it?
Well, I mean, if there's another room the other side, it makes sense.
Oh yeah, I thought about what side of the boat.
If it's the bottom one, it's definitely a bad idea.
Well, when the hole it's pretty close to the sea level.
Yeah. I think they climb up through
yeah, he like stretches up to the side and they climb up. Wade's like slips at the top, but like nothing really comes to it. They'll just get to the top.
Just a bit of peril in there,
and they see Sven driving the boat. And is it on this boat? Is it just Sven and driving and security bots?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, we don't see anyone else.
Surely you should get some hired goons.
Hired goons. Well, the thing about that is he's already got all these robots under his control, and he doesn't want to split his money with anyone else.
I guess they are his goons.
They are his goons. The way you said that was very funny. Goons.
Do you remember like a few years ago when calling somebody a goon was like a common insult?
I think it's a compliment. I don't remember that.
He's such a goon.
Goon. Yeah, goon.
Yeah, that was a weird time. Anyway, Wade at this point is again shocked that Zeta is a robot, even though we've already had that reveal.
Yeah. This kid's just an idiot, really, isn't he? Basically?
Yeah. A security bot sees them again and shoots.
Yeah. Wade tries to talk to the security bots, and they're not listening to him because obviously they wouldn't. You know.
Ro gets the zapper gun, the EMP type gun, and shoots one of the security bots. And she's like, Rowan, action hero.
Yeah, she's not very cool either, is she? No one's that cool in this.
And Wade's like, I should have hired you guys.
Oh yes, he does. Yeah. But he's a robot racist, so he wouldn't ever dream of it if he knew. But
they split up, and Zeta goes to get Sven, whilst Ro and Wade go to get a lifeboat.
They try to escape.
Sven hits Zeta with a pole.
Well, no, it's with the gun. He's got another one of those guns. So I thought the gun's broken because it's like bent in half. But then he uses it again, like 5 minutes. They have a little fight, and then he gets the gun again. And
Zeta turns into a robot, and Sven's like,
Yeah. When he hits him, he's like, hang on, that should have, because like you said, Sven's a bit of a broad boy.
Sven shoots Zeta. And Wade, they've got the lifeboat. Wade's like, we need to go back. And I was like, there's his character arc.
He's had a very quick
in a line.
Development there.
Zeta is getting zapped, and then Wade does a very big, dramatic jumping kick towards Sven, and then Sven just bats him away.
Just twats him out of there.
Yeah. And then he throws off Ro as well.
Yeah.
But Zeta grabs a gun and shoots like a bell that's above Sven's head.
That's right.
Falls and lands on his head, knocking him out.
Nice. They use teamwork. That's what happened there.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the mansion.
It's almost as if Ro and Wade were distracting Sven while Zeta did something else.
Yeah.
Something that may come up in another episode. Episode 10, perhaps.
I don't actually know what you're talking about, but we'll get to it.
Okay.
But yeah, Wade is now friends with his bots.
Yes, Sven's got arrested.
Sven's been arrested. And
Wade offers Zeta and Ro breakfast, so they go back to his house.
Yeah.
And they get there, and the security bots are all playing basketball and having a good time.
And they're all talking now. I guess he didn't let them talk before, which is quite sad.
One of them brings his lemonade, and he just kind of puts it on the side. He's like, "Only after a 2-on-2."
Yeah, it's a bit silly, but it's
it was a fun.
It's a nice
episode.
ending, and it's like, hey,
and then we get the after credits, the classic Zeta thing. Did you see it?
I did. It was a pile of paper, according to them.
Yeah, some money and some coins.
They do like a load of things like cash.
Yeah, I've got them written down. Ro was like, "Why are we looking at a pile of paper?" And Zeta says, "This is money they use to buy things." I'm like, they still have money in this universe. It's just all digital.
They would know that as well. It's not that far in the future.
They called it dough, moolah, bread, green stuff, and simoleon. Simoleon, like The Sims.
No, I have heard that before. Yeah, simoleons.
I've only heard it from The Sims. I
think Ro goes, "Dang, that's a lot of names." And then one of them goes, "I guess they liked it." That's it. That's the end of that.
That is the end of episode 9.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
It was all right. Yeah, it wasn't too bad. It was it felt quite similar because we've had a couple of episodes with like an extra sidekick in there.
Yeah.
We had a couple with Bucky. It didn't feel super original, but it was enjoyable for what it was.
I think it was a good bit of fun.
It moved at a pretty decent pace. I mean, these are all 20 minutes, so they can't normally overstay their welcome too much.
And it was quite action packed, like it was non-stop stuff was going on, which was quite good.
Like the scubaing up to the thing and then having the little hostage rescue. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you want to give a rating to it?
Yeah, I think probably like 6 out of 10. It was all right.
Yeah, I think I was going to go for 6 as well because it was still what it was, but it was good fun.
Yeah, fair enough.
Right, so episode 10 that we watched after, I watched it the next day. Actually, it was nice to break them up.
Same. I only watched it a couple hours ago, probably.
Yeah,
so fairly fresh. And it was Taffy time.
It was Taffy time.
So Taffy is something we don't have in the UK much, isn't it?
No, it's like a sweet, stretchy candy.
I think it's salty. They talk about salt water taffy. So it's almost like a caramel. I'm going to look up what taffy is.
Yeah, that's
I thought we could address it up front because it's a type of candy invented in the United States. Oh, boring. Basically, it's sugar. Saltwater taffy. It looks basically like fudge, but they seem to stretch it out, which is part of what happens in this. So
I've seen videos of like making of taffy, and it's like pretty wild.
Yeah, but when it comes down to it, it ends up looking like a fudge or a caramel, doesn't it? But it seems to be a popular kind of pastime sweet. They mention it in lots of different shows that I've watched in the past.
I'm very familiar with taffy, even though we don't have it here.
Yeah. But it's called Taffy Time, and it picks up sometime after the previous episode.
Yes.
Doesn't
it? Do you want to have a guess at the IMDb rating for this episode? The last one was 7.3.
7.
7.5.
Yeah, well, that's close, wasn't it? See, I'm learning. I'm like a learning machine here.
You did have something to base it off this time, which helps.
I don't normally. Yeah, normally it's so it's weeks apart from when I have to do it normally.
So this has quite a dramatic start. It goes straight into it.
Yeah. We occasionally get these ones. It's normally the ones with the NSA agents where it picks up where they're kind of chasing them, and there's a flying car chase. So Zeta and Ro are in some car that I assume they've stolen from someone. They're getting chased by some sort of weird big speeder thing that's got 2 agents in it.
And one seat is like behind the other and higher.
Raised up, yeah. And the agents that are chasing them are Agents West and Lee.
Yes.
And West is the one that's Michael Rosenbaum, is it?
Yes, who's always incompetent.
Yeah.
And they do address it this episode.
They do.
He's like, why do I get sent off on these dull missions? And Agent Lee's like, well, because you did this, and this.
Almost immediately, it's pretty much now. Lee implies that they were sent on a wild goose chase mission, and it only happened to turn out that they were actually in the right place. Kind of thing. And the car that Zeta and Rose in has been damaged in some way. They crash land in a pond and then they kind of run off on foot.
Yeah, and they're being chased and they're being watched by a shadowy figure
Yeah.
who look like in the shadows Robot Rick.
Yeah. He kind of did, yeah.
So
yeah.
like if you listen to last week's episode, there is an ongoing villain in that who we described as a mix of Dr. Robotnik and Rick from Rick and Morty.
That's right.
In the shadows, I was like, this looks like Robot
It's
Rick.
a crossover episode. Yeah, they're watched by this guy and he's kind of commenting on how incompetent the agents are. And he ends up stepping in and
yeah, like
and
Wesley
saving
shoots
them.
a net at them and misses.
Yeah.
But they had them cornered.
Yeah.
And they've got this net again, and Lee's kind of aiming it this time. But he's like, he shoots a gun just as they're about to shoot the net and takes it down, and he's like, come with me, I can help you.
Yeah.
And Zeta for a second nearly goes back because West and Lee crash into a pond.
Yeah.
And Zeta kind of thinks about going back and helping them, and Rose like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
like,
we're gonna get captured if you go back that way.
So they go with Robot Rick.
Yes, and we kind of see a little bit of him. He's on a bike like the guys from the last episode. He kind of looks a bit cyborgy. We don't get a full look at him at this point.
No.
And they follow him to a factory with a gingerbread house out the front.
Yeah, and the agent Lee tells West to stay behind. She's gonna go after them. And yeah, it's a gingerbread house, and Rose like, two strangers following an unknown person to a gingerbread house. What could go wrong? And Zeta's like, I don't know what could go wrong. Many things could go wrong. And Rose's like, okay, Hansel.
Yeah.
And he's like, who's Hansel?
Yeah, he's got access to like the internet. I don't know why he's such a moron, honestly. But Ro recognizes the mascot Cody Koala.
Yeah.
And she realizes it's this abandoned candy factory that they moved to Canada. So it's out of use, but they seem to have left everything exactly where it was.
Yeah.
Because the machines turn on later and just start making candy.
Yeah.
So it's convenient for the plot, but it's unless they literally left like 2 minutes beforehand.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's maybe supposed to be kind of like a dystopian kind of capitalist thing where they just all left it behind, but I think realistically no one really thought any more about it than that.
But they catch up with a guy and he's got like a bionic eye and a bionic arm.
He looks quite cool. He's got like bright kind of gingery hair. He's quite big and muscly, but he's much taller than the other two, or maybe at least as tall as Zeta. And his arm looks very big. He looks like a character from something like maybe an anime, or like I think there's a character in the Overwatch games that looks a bit like him. It's not super original, but it's quite a cool kind of design.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Agent Lee has found footsteps leading up to the gingerbread house, so she starts to follow.
Yeah, not breadcrumbs though, no.
And anyway, Robot Rick introduced himself as Crick.
Yeah. So I wasn't sure if it was Craig, how Americans pronounce Craig in an interesting way, but I looked it up and it is like Kraik or Krik.
So I did the same. I was like, right, I didn't quite catch that. I'm going to write it down phonetically as I heard it, because then I was like, when I read back my notes, I can just say Crick. When I looked up, I got the spelling spot on.
How is it spelled?
Krick.
CK, yeah. Because I originally wrote Craik, and then later on I did correct myself, but I can't see it.
No, just straight off the bat got the spelling correct.
Fair enough. And he's a bounty hunter, isn't he?
Yeah, it turns out he wants to take Zeta in because of the huge bounty on his head.
Yes. Which makes sense. We were talking about it just a moment ago. Like, they're number one on the most wanted list.
Exactly.
There must be someone else after them other than the useless NSA.
And he's got this like electric necklace thing that will drain Zeta's power, essentially.
Like a collar thing, isn't it?
Yeah. So he aims the gun at them and is like, come on, you got to do it.
Oh, he also says he's been tracking them for 2 months, which seems like a long time. But I guess they're quite good at moving around and avoiding trouble. Or maybe they're always fighting someone else every episode and he doesn't want to get involved.
Yeah.
But he can't be that good if he's been tracking them for 2 months.
Picking his moment.
Yeah, clearly.
But Zeta like kicks him away, kicks the gun away, and they both run.
I think the agent might turn up at that point. She interrupts them, maybe. Maybe Lee.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's a point where she interrupts something, so I imagine that might be it.
Yeah.
I think she turns up and starts
Crick
shouting.
takes off his bionic eye and he's just got a normal eye underneath, and I was like, oh, that's a little disappointing. I thought he had a whole inbuilt bionic eye.
I think he's like, oh, I can see through something with this, and then something jams it or something silly like that.
Yeah. And
no, yeah, because he's got Lee hostage at this point, hasn't he? Or is that a bit later?
I think it's a bit. Oh, in a second.
Yeah.
Because first Zeta grabs Ro and throws her down this like waste chute.
Yeah.
And she like falls outside of the factory.
Right.
And then he grabs Agent Lee, and he's like, Zeta, I know you're in here, and he's like holding her off like the walkway.
Yeah, and Lee's like, what's that going to do? And he's like, I've been studying them for 2 months. I know that Zeta's going to help people.
Yeah, and he's like, you don't want anything to happen to Agent Lee. He's like,
but then he doesn't immediately come, so he handcuffs her to him and starts dragging her around.
There's this whole bit where he's like counting down and he's slowly letting go of her, being like, I'm gonna drop her, I'm gonna drop her, and Zeta thinks about it but doesn't move, and then eventually he gives up and just pulls her over, and I was like, well, we know this guy's full of shit then.
Basically,
he can't follow through with any of his threats.
No. Yeah, and then he handcuffs her and just starts dragging her around the factory, and then the koala machine, someone turns on the thing.
They go into the power room, like the main power room, and Crick knocks it all on. Zeta's kind of following, but the whole factory then turns on.
Yeah, and all the machines, the koala bears. So it's like an automated factory, but they're all mascots, because I guess you could do a tour around.
Yeah, it made me
like
think
a Willy Wonka
of
kind of
Futurama.
Yes.
Like, we're whalers on the moon. We carry a harpoon.
Yeah.
Maybe is that a thing?
Is that the same episode as the Slurm factory? That's not the same thing, is it?
It's one of the. I think it's like the second episode, because they go to.
Oh yeah, because Fry's like, we're on the moon, and everyone's like, yeah, the moon's boring. Yeah,
and they go off into the wilderness of the moon.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's one bit here where Zeta's kind of hiding behind, and they turn the power on, and Zeta looks really sad. Like the camera's close on his face, and he looks so sad.
So it's when all the candy machines and the koala starts going on. He just shows his face, and he just looks really confused and sad.
It made me feel so sad. And I was like, also, this doesn't make any sense. Why does he look so sad?
I think that's the end of the first half, and it zooms in on him, and it's supposed to be like, he's so upset that this person's kidnapped, but it came straight after like the singing and stuff. It's just like, it just goes to show that he just has absolutely no idea what's going on most of the time.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Yeah.
Ro kind of wakes up outside.
And as she's about to kind of move forward, the force fields that are protecting it get activated.
Because you know what we all need at our candy factories is electrical force fields.
Yeah, and she throws like some sugar at it and realizes that it's a force field.
I know she like fell into a bit of sugar, but she's handily just got a handful of sugar.
Yeah. And then
Crick puts his bionic eye back on.
Yeah, because it's fine now. And this is when he says he's going to frame Zeta. He's going to kill her and frame Zeta.
And cover it up, frame Zeta,
Yeah.
Zeta changes to one of the koala mascots.
Yes.
But with this bionic eye, Crick can see through the costumes.
Right, because that's the same as what, the other agents sometimes have goggles.
Barnet.
Yeah, bless you.
Who's the head of the NSA?
Agent
Bartlett?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
Okay, I'll go.
Agent, let me see.
It's something
Agent
like
James Bennett.
Bennett. Oh, it's Bennett. Of course, it's Bennett. I was so
played
close.
by Kurtwood Smith.
Yes.
He's in other stuff. He's in RoboCop. That's funny. I mentioned RoboCop a moment ago.
Huh.
He's also in Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country.
No, is that Star Trek 6?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Ah, look at me. Look at me go.
Very good. He's also in Broken Arrow and That 70s Show.
Huh.
Oh, yeah. He's like one of the main characters. He's one of the dads in 70s Show. Not that I've ever watched it, but yeah.
There you go. So yeah, Zeta changes back to Zeta and seeing that he's been shot in the knee, so he can't really walk much.
Yes.
And Lee,
yeah, she helps somehow.
She's got like a grenade thing.
Yeah,
that she sneakily gets out
out
whilst Crick is focused on Zeta.
That's right.
And drops it. It's like a flashbang, like Batman escaping type thing. And Zeta gets away, and Lee tries to run, but Crick grabs her.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we go back
Ro,
to the pond.
This is Ro outside.
Oh no! First we get
Wes. He was he stuck to the thing somehow?
No, Lee told him to stay behind and carry on radioing.
But he ends up like with something trapped to his arm. He has a handcuff on for the rest of it.
I think that comes later.
Yeah, I can't remember how that happened.
But he's like radioing, calling Mayday, Mayday, and then he drops it in the water and the radio dies. And he's like, so he grabs a gun and he's like, well, I'll go find Lee then.
Help. Yeah. And then Ro is trying to find a way in and she sees a rat outside.
She's like testing the force field and and she sees the rat has got like some taffy
or something. Yeah. She's like, how did you get that? You must have got inside somehow.
And again to like a sewer gate that's just like infested with
There's
rats.
Loads of rats. She's like, And
as she opens it,
Wes
catches her.
And he's like, where's my partner? And she's like, she's trapped inside with, and then he's like, with your robotic friend. I know. And it's like, well, why are you asking? Like,
yeah. And then, because he's an idiot, she's like, I'll lead the way. And he's like, I smell a trap. I'll go first. And walk straight into the force field. Gets up, and Ro's like, you fucking idiot. But she grabs his gun.
Yeah.
From him.
And then she starts trying to get into the vent, doesn't she? The sewer grate.
And then we get inside the factory.
Yes.
And Lee is tied up, feet down, arms up, with a lolly stuck in her mouth.
Yes. It's a little bit BDSM-y kind of, isn't it?
It really
it's
is.
A little bit gagged, yeah.
Like with it being like a lolly as well. I was like, this is a bit weird.
Yeah, and I think the Crick says something like taffy time for Agent Lee.
Yeah.
It's a little I saw when I didn't find any particular trivia, but there was something in the production notes on somewhere I looked that said that they were tasked, the team were tasked with doing a setting that was slightly more kid friendly. So they did it in a candy factory,
and then put in some BDSM.
But then did loads of really inappropriate stuff, like making her almost get killed in a really disgusting way.
Yeah,
because she's on this taffy stretching machine,
which Americans will probably be familiar with, that twist around to stretch it out. It's going to be
like a medieval rack, isn't it? And it would have kind of stretched her out and pulled her in twain.
But also, like, this whole time she's tied down with the lolly in her mouth.
Yeah.
She's trying to talk, and she's just like, and like she's literally like gagging, and it's like, fucking hell.
I mean, somebody on the team probably had a fun time drawing and storyboarding.
I'm glad it wasn't just me.
I
was like, what?
It didn't. Yeah, it didn't focus on it too much for it to be. Yeah.
But it does go back to it a couple of times.
It does, yeah. I didn't know. I don't think I noticed the gag the first time. But, there were some close-ups later on. And you're like, she could probably get rid of that, or she could bite through it. At the very least.
It's a really big round lolly.
It's like a very cartoonish, like and it's like circular.
It's like wider than her mouth, so she must be like biting down it for it to stay in her mouth.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not all the way in, as it were. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, Zeta's like overlooking.
What happens here? Everything suddenly.
Well, if you let me finish.
All right, go on. I'll take a break. You go.
It's kind of weird because like there's these things that are holding up the walkway.
Yeah, there's a gantry. We see a lot of gantries in projects,
and he taps on them, very loudly, which I think was going to be a plot point.
Who?
It's not Zeta.
Okay.
He taps on them, and then he he goes up to he starts cutting them so they're really like thin and just holding on by a thing. And then he sticks a wire into a koala.
Right.
And we don't see why yet. And then he goes down and he starts walking towards Crick.
Yeah.
And he's like, let her go.
Yeah.
And she's like, and then as he's doing it, the walkway falls because it was on the brink.
Yeah, and it looks like it completely like crushes Zeta, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Crick goes, no.
He's like, no, my bounty's been crushed. I need you like in one piece or something.
Yeah,
and he runs to try and uncover him, doesn't he?
Yeah, and the smoke light clears and Zeta's gone. So Crick like runs off looking for Zeta.
Yeah, he looks.
Meanwhile, a koala approaches Agent Lee.
But the koala is helping Lee and then transforms into Zeta.
Yeah, Zeta can do a whole hologram.
I know, but why? But the wire thing wasn't to get the image. Was that to control one to walk around or something?
Yeah, I think it was to make one act differently so that Crick would follow it.
Because there is one that comes up in a sec. Actually.
Yeah,
that's what it is. Okay.
And yeah, the koala and Zeta.
Yeah.
Crick starts like shooting shit all around.
Yeah, he realizes that he's not where he thought he was. And then he goes back to the machine and turns it on to pull Lee.
Yeah, but first Ro has snuck in and she's covered in like chocolate.
Cool.
Through the sewer.
Is it chocolate?
Well, she tastes it. Like, I hope it's chocolate. But yeah, he pulls the lever and it starts stretching Crick, like as you say, like a medieval rat.
Yes.
And then all the koalas are singing.
Yeah.
And Crick starts shooting the koalas because he's sick of it. But then as he's kind of facing the koalas and shooting them,
I think one walks particularly up to him, doesn't it?
Yeah. And Lee's being stretched almost not humanly possible.
Yes.
Too far.
Yeah.
And as he's shooting them, Lee turns into Zeta.
Yes.
And jumps on Crick from behind.
That's right.
They fight for a bit.
Yeah, the circular saw comes out of Zeta's arm.
Yeah, he cuts the gun off his arm.
Yes.
Which is convenient.
Very convenient.
And they fall onto like a machine that's one of those classic factory things that's going to move them around.
Yeah.
And it gets to the choppy bit at the end.
Yeah.
It's very lots of things. One that jumps out to me is Attack of the Clones.
Oh yeah, there's that whole
it also happens in
sequence there.
The Simpsons, I think. Maybe one of the Treehouse of Horrors.
Potentially, yeah. It's a classic
trope.
It's a classic trope. It's also a little bit like in James Bond when he almost gets lasered or whatever in lots of different ways.
And Agent Lee picks up a gun and she's like, let him go. He's government property. And she shoots the cutter thing. And as she shoots it, Zeta throws Crick off him and he's like, I was like, surely you could have done that before.
Yeah.
Why didn't you just
guess it was the distraction, I suppose, but
yeah. And then the hero of the show turns up.
Yeah, Agent West,
and he is naturally useless.
He turns up doing the wrong thing again.
Yep, and he starts shooting.
Yeah,
like just aimlessly at Zeta. Ro like rolls some like I think they're marbles, but they're probably like jawbreakers or something.
Yeah. I've written down gumballs, I imagine. Yeah, and then Agent Lee is still pointing the gun at Zeta, and at this point we're kind of like, I thought that she'd been convinced otherwise, and it kind of shows that she was, but it's not sure where she lies on the whole Zeta situation.
Yeah, because with Wesley's random shooting, there's been like an explosion with a Taffy machine.
Yeah,
and Crick's hurt, so Zeta kind of approaches him. Yeah, Lee goes to arrest. She kind of gets there. And she arrests Lee. No, she is Lee. She arrests Crick.
Yes.
And Zeta's like, oh, is he going to be okay? And then Lee, like I said, aims the gun at Zeta and is like, you're also arrested.
Yeah.
But then we see West is hanging from the gantry.
He looks like he's got something tied to his arm.
So I think what he's got
is
Crick's arm.
Right, he's kind of put it onto his
He's using it
arm.
as a gun. He's
Yeah, because
holding
he
on
didn't
to
have a
it.
gun because
He's using Crick's arm as the gun and just holding it, so it's a bit weirdly shaped.
But then he's hanging off. Yeah, he's put himself in another sticky situation.
And then we get some really emotional music here. I don't know if you noticed.
No, I didn't.
But as kind of Zeta and Lee like lock eyes and they both realize what's about to happen.
Yeah.
And it's like really, and I was like, the fuck?
What the fuck is going on here?
Anyway, Lee's like, I have to go save my friend, my partner.
Yes.
I can only handcuff one person at a time.
Yeah.
I've got to do my job.
She says,
wait here. I'll be like 10 minutes.
Yeah. And, that's a big trope, isn't it? It's like let the semi bad guy get away at the end.
Yeah.
The technical criminal, but actual anti-hero.
I quite like it in this because it's the first time we've kind of seen the NSA have a lighter side and actually understand Zeta.
Because we've seen West has almost had his realizations a few times.
But he's an idiot.
So it makes sense for someone to...
We saw Clancy Brown had the realization.
Yeah.
A load of members of the public
sheriff
have had the realization. Like
pretty much everyone realizes
except for the NSA.
It's just the NSA, yeah. And then West kind of wakes up or gets picked up or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, aren't you so glad I came in and helped at the last minute?"
Yeah, and meanwhile, Ro and Zeta have run off.
And Lee throws the collar into like a thing of chocolate, and it's like, I guess, I mean,
the collar thing,
yeah.
It's like,
I'm sure that
cool.
Someone else could make another one of them.
I think it was a symbolic move to show that she no longer wants to capture Zeta.
I think you're right. Yes.
And that is the end of episode 10.
Yeah, we get a little jokey.
There's some chocolate on the screen, and Ro's like, "We still have chocolate now. Why are we looking at this?" And
they say chocolate hasn't changed, and she goes, "I like
chocolate."
She goes, "I like chocolate."
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
And that's that. I really quite enjoyed this episode.
Did
I have
you?
to say,
Okay,
I thought it was good fun.
I thought it was about the same as the previous one. I liked the bounty hunter. Although he wasn't a great character, I like the inclusion of that.
Yeah, I quite like the setting as well.
The setting was quite fun. It's always fun when there's kind of like a triple threat thing happening. Where
I think that's why I liked it.
It's a bit more interesting.
And then like they kind of teaming up to fight a bigger enemy.
Yeah,
I liked Agent Lee. Her introductions.
Definitely,
like, actually,
she's been in the background before, I think. But
we've actually got a nuanced NSA character.
And it puts it in good stead for the last couple of episodes for them to do something with.
I imagine she will come back and will maybe switch sides or help,
or at least be like the man on the inside a little bit with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Because West already does that inadvertently every time he lets them go, but for Lee to kind of be on the side as well
it's kind of intentionally help them rather than unintentionally help them. But it's good fun, and we've only got 2 left, so they must do something these last 2 episodes to kind of round off the series.
We'd hope so.
We'd
hope so.
But yeah, I enjoyed that. I think the episodes with the NSA tend to be more fun because it's villains we know.
And it feels a bit more like a continuous one. Although we've had some good ones without them, like the one with the other android was quite fun.
Yeah.
Or there was 2 with that one, I think.
But I think this had a good mix of another villain and the NSA.
Yeah.
Because the NSA are just like a government agency. So we've got another one mixing together. And yeah, I quite like this.
Yeah, what do you reckon rating wise for this one?
It's still not good enough to be too high.
No.
It's Zeta, but I'm gonna give it a 7.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna stick. Yeah,
it might be like joint highest I've given a Zeta episode.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I think I was going to go with the 6, same as before.
Yeah, fair enough.
I liked it, but I didn't like it enough to put it kind of higher.
I'm glad I watched it today and not last night, because when I finished Crime Wave last night, I was feeling tired. And I reckon if I'd watched it straight after, I wouldn't have enjoyed my children a bit tired. Whereas today, I got home, had some dinner, chucked it on. I was like, yeah, cool. And then came here, so I was ready to talk about it.
Nice.
But Yes. So, have you got anything else?
I haven't got anything else to
Zeta?
say about Zeta Project. But no, I'm looking forward to watching those last two. I think maybe we'll
So you do have something else to say.
we'll keep it to the within the next 10 episodes kind of thing.
Yeah, because it'll be nice
maybe
to
speed it up before the end of the year. Kind of thing.
Nice to round off this series because it'll be the end of season 1. I think season 2 is shorter.
Is it maybe 10 instead of 12?
I think it might even be 8.
Oh, okay. Cool.
But
even better.
Don't quote me on that.
We haven't got that many episodes left before the end of the year, so
Yeah.
maybe we'll speed this one up and put it in.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Cool.
What else was I gonna say? It doesn't matter. What was it? No, it doesn't. It really doesn't matter.
Well, if you haven't got anything else to say,
I guess it's time for
Personal Projects.
This makes it personal.
Projects.
So, Sam, what have you been watching, reading, doing, drawing, partying, dancing, creating, or any other running?
Running? No, I've been doing some of those things. The main things is watching a couple of new films that I mentioned up top. The first of which is Enola Holmes 2.
I know you've been excited for this for quite a while.
Enola, you have been.
Okay.
I know you've Holmes been. Yeah. Enola Holmes 2. You haven't watched it yet?
No, I haven't.
No.
I keep seeing trailers for it. The first one was okay.
First one was okay. I think this is probably slightly better. I enjoyed it a little bit more. I think the mystery and the kind of action is a little bit more satisfying. There is more Henry Cavill in this one.
Can't complain about that.
Good. He's more of a kind of central figure, I'd say. It's still kind of, I think it's aimed at a slightly younger audience than us, so it holds your hand a little bit with the mysteries and stuff like that. It's not quite on. I felt like the first one was a bit like, what is it, like Blue's Clues or something, where they're like, hey, audience, how do we do this mystery kind of thing?
Yeah, Dora the Explorer.
Dora the Explorer, yeah. I don't think it's quite as kind of guilty of that in this one, but it's a fun little ride, and they do set things up for a potential threequel, introducing a couple of kind of key characters to the mythos and stuff as you go through. Some of it's a bit silly, as you'd expect, and Millie Bobby Brown can be a little bit annoying throughout.
But you love Millie Bobby Brown.
I know, she's my favourite.
You know, off pod, everyone calls you Drake.
Yeah, but that's for a different reason. It's my rapping and singing combo.
Oh, is it? I thought it was because of your similar acts to Drake Bell.
Yes. That's because I'm such a bellend. That's why. It's one of those very kind of incongruous nicknames that takes a long time to figure out. No, it was pretty good though. I would recommend it. It's an easy watch. It's quite long. I feel like it's like 2 and a bit hours.
Oh, and I remember when Enola Holmes came out, I said I watched it, and you were like, "I'm not watching it if it's over 2 hours," and it was like 2 hours and 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I normally stand by that with films I don't care about, but this one, it's 2 hours 8 minutes. So we got to halfway through, and it was like, oh, there can't be that long left, and then it looked at it was an hour left. And I was like, okay. But yeah, no, I would recommend it. I think if you even enjoyed the first one a little bit, I would recommend checking it out at some point. Have you got anything else to talk about? Anything else? You haven't spoken about anything?
So I watched Black Panther, but you can hear our thoughts on that on the Silver Screen Project.
Yes.
And most been watching TV. So at the weekend, me and Christina watched the entirety of season 1 of RuPaul's Drag Race UK. Okay,
yeah. I've not seen the UK one at all yet. No, I've heard good things about it, though.
Yeah, I've watched the odd episode of the American one, but it was classic like American reality where everyone's just kind of being nasty to each other. And like season 4's on at the moment.
I've seen a bit of that on TV. Yeah,
me and Christina watching that. It's very much more everyone kind of looks after each other.
Mm.
And we kind of got caught up on that, so we went back and watched the entirety of season 1.
Okay.
And it's quite good fun.
The
like,
references are more stuff we'd get and stuff, isn't it? Yeah, that's what people have said.
There's a funny bit in episode 1. So they had to dress up as an icon from their hometown.
Right.
And there was this one person from Brighton who came out in more way than one. And me and Christina were like, oh, they kind of look like Queen Victoria type dress.
Okay. Yeah.
I went and sat on my balcony for a bit, which, as you know, looks towards the pavilion.
Yes.
And then I came back in and I was like, I can't figure out what she's trying to do. And then they were like, oh, I'm the pavilion. I was like, wait, what? I was like, I've seen her.
The domes were supposed to be.
She had like a crown on that was kind of dome shaped, but it was a lot more like golden, whereas the pavilion's quite like white.
Yeah, kind of turquoise.
It's just funny that I saw it, didn't get it. Literally went and looked at the pavilion, came back in and still didn't get it.
Yeah. So not that accurate then.
No, and she went home first week.
Fair enough, yeah.
But it's quite good fun. Like
I would like to check it out. Yeah, I know.
And there's a lot of like creativity to it as to what they can do. Sometimes they have to be characters. Like there was one where to be the person who ended up winning season 1 at one point did a great Donald Trump costume. And really got the voice nailed on. And this was like 2018.
It's a bit of kind of stand-up-y stuff as well, isn't it? And like improv where they're asked questions and stuff like that. Yeah,
you have to kind of have your comedic chops and and then some of them are more like focused on like the dressmaking. They kind of master at that.
Different strengths throughout.
But it's kind of good. I'm not really one for reality TV, but because it's kind of a bit more of a quirky side to it.
Yeah,
it's good fun, and you have like guest judges like Graham Norton's off on there quite a lot, who RuPaul always calls Graham because that's how Americans say Graham. But yeah, it's kind of good fun, and I think Christina started season 2 and I've kind of been in and out of it. But that's been pretty good fun. The other thing I've been watching is the latest season of Taskmaster.
I think
it's season 13 now. 6 episodes are out, and Taskmaster's great.
Anyone that I'd know on that one?
Dara Breen is on there.
Cool, yeah.
So it's Dara Breen, Sarah Millican. Quite fun. Who else on there? There's Fern Brady, who's like a Scottish comedian.
Name vaguely rings a bell.
John something who I didn't know, who's just like plays a bit of a loser.
Is he the one who wears a suit all the time? He's got like
glasses and a bit of a beard.
Yeah, I think I might be thinking.
And there's Munya Chihuahua.
Oh, he's a TikToker guy, isn't he? Yeah, he's like very social media.
He's great. It's every challenge he goes into like super confidently. He's like, I'm gonna do it, and he's just really entertaining. I think he's my favorite in this cast.
He's very he does lots of like political songs, and like he did lots of like whenever the government does something slightly inept, which is obviously very often, he seems to come out with like a catchy little satire song.
Yeah, he's good fun.
Like that.
There's a great bit of challenge, which I know you won't mind me spoiling. But they had like a helmet on that had like a pot of paint on, and they'd step on some tiles through the garden and drop the paint on like a target. Obviously, there's stuff in the way.
Yeah,
and they get to the point and there's some tiles missing, and Darbreen goes, wait, what? What? Wait, what? And they kind of joked about that and being like, he's got a new catchphrase. And then literally the next task that happens, he goes, wait, what? And it's like, he's like, oh, I didn't realize I'd do that. He's just like, oh yeah, that's Darbreen. Wait, what? But yeah, it's good fun. And obviously Greg Davis and Alex Horn are entertaining people anyway.
I've seen Alex Horn's got a new show, The Horn Section.
The Alex Horn Section. So that's his band who did like the Taskmaster theme tune. And
it's like a Horn Section, the TV show or something like that, I think it is. Yeah. I've just seen adverts for it on TV. I think it's a Channel 4 thing.
Yeah, they advertised it after I was watching Taskmaster.
I don't know. I think it seems to be a vaguely similar thing in terms of guests and panel-y kind of.
Yeah, it probably push more into his like musical side.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But yeah, Taskmaster is good fun. They even at one point, Greg Davis introduced himself as the Taskmaster, and he's like, nope, not the Marvel character. Obviously, when they started, most people didn't know the Taskmaster, but since Ant-Man 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, Taskmaster, highly recommend.
But it's actually Black Widow.
It's Black Widow.
Even though the characters look almost identical.
I was
So
thinking Ghost,
fair enough. I think they're both going to be in the new, I was going to say Suicide Squad.
No, it's the
Thunderbolts film.
yeah.
So that'll be fun to try and differentiate between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else for you? That's all I've got.
I watched Don't Worry Darling, the controversial in some ways film. Harry Styles,
so
Florence Pugh led film.
Before you get into that, I've seen lots of TikToks about one certain scene about people laughing about how bad Harry Styles' acting is with his accents and stuff. And then I saw somebody kind of respond to that being like, he's literally playing like an American guy who's trying to be British. That's why his accent's kind of all over the place.
So
I haven't seen it. So.
I won't spoil the kind of, unless you want me to, but the accent, they make a couple of attempts to cover it up in certain ways, but a lot of the time it's just his accent now, which is just this mixture between kind of Midlandsy, slightly northern accent wherever he's from, and this kind of Americanisms, a bit like Alex Turner, who's gone across the pond and picks up. He definitely doesn't try to do like a consistent English accent, or if he's trying, he's miserably failing. But it's just a weird accent. Like he's not the focal point of the film. Florence Pugh is front and center, and he is very much backdrop for most of it. So it's not terrible, and he's not a bad actor. He's just like outclassed by Florence Pugh. So there's certain scenes where he's a bit more melodramatic and overacty, but Florence Pugh does very big, broad reactions anyway. So when you're watching it, I don't think it was too bad.
Okay.
The film itself I kind of liked it. Like, I don't know how much to get into it. It's like this idyllic kind of late 50s, maybe early 60s housewife, Stepford wife situation. And there's lots of mysteries about where all the husbands are going off to. And they're in this isolated, seemingly perfect desert community. And there's like this cult leader guy who's Chris Pine. And he's like, you're all working on the Victory Project, is what it's called, which is funny enough. Like a good project in there. And one of the other wives starts kind of behaving funnily, and then she kind of disappears. And then it's like she's the new one who starts suspecting something's wrong. And it's quite stylish, and it has good sound design, and there's some cool kind of trippy sequences. But when it gets to the point where you find out what's going on, it's kind of like, okay, they didn't really sow the seeds properly for the big reveal.
Right.
And it does explain certain bits. The accent is very slightly explained, but it kind of just like, it all comes to a crescendo and you're like, okay, it's like, it's probably like a 3-ish star film out of 5.
Right.
Like, it wasn't like bad in any way, but visually and stylistically, I thought it was pretty cool.
Is it on streaming?
It may be. I found it somewhere, so
okay.
I can point you in the right direction if you need to. But I think it is on. Pointing over there. It's a difficult one because I think it's had so much bad press, and the press has almost overshone the film in lots of ways. And I don't know if any of that, I mean, maybe that's well deserved. It doesn't really matter what happened behind the scenes, as long as nobody was, hurt or anything like that. Hopefully they weren't, maybe they were. I think the resulting film is kind of,
Harry Styles has got 2 films out at the moment, isn't it?
So he's got My Policeman, which was filmed a lot of it in Brighton.
Because
a couple of roads down got shut off for it.
Somebody I worked with was quite keen to watch that, and they were really pissed off because despite it being like set in Brighton and filmed in Brighton, it wasn't shown at any cinemas in Brighton.
Being shown
it was shown
anywhere.
At the Dome in Worthing.
Yeah.
But it was like, that's kind of weird. You thought they would.
I think it's a super small release, and that's another one that I think is set in like the 40s or 50s, and it's
Harry Styles has kind of got that look.
Yeah,
because he was in Dunkirk as well.
That was
wasn't
his first role, I think. Yeah, I mean, like, he looks the part in this of this kind of. He looks a little bit like a little kid, to be honest, in some ways, because he's got quite a boyish look, but he does fit this part of this kind of ideal, like, suave husband who's like come in with his sunglasses and his
Next
sports
James
car.
Bond.
I mean, maybe in like 10 years, he probably needs to age into it a little bit. I feel like he's a little bit, and also the accent. Like I know I feel like it's mean to take the piss out of because it is his accent, but also Florence Pugh is doing an American accent flawlessly throughout, and she's not American.
I remember
so most actors can pick up a different accent.
I remember it always used to be a thing with Charlie Hunnam because he grew up in like Newcastle and then moved to America when he was a kid.
Right.
And then like came back here for his like acting career. So his accent is kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
So
but not as much as this.
No, but I remember when he was in Green Street and he was doing like a East London accent, it was terrible.
Yeah.
And then a couple other things he's popped up in, it's like that doesn't quite work. But there's certain roles that suit him. So Pacific Rim is kind of a global thing. So it works. In The Gentleman,
well,
he's a British bodyguard for Michael McConaughey. So it kind of works.
Matthew
McConaughey. So it works that he's kind of got this broad across the pond accent.
But even in that, I think it's quite well kind of.
But I mean, it may get to a point where Harry Styles kind of works on it and picks roles that work. If he can't fix the accent, picks roles that work with the accent.
Yeah. So, I don't think. I mean, this one, like I say,
play a British guy that lives in America.
There's a couple of both the twist, as it were, and a line within that like sequence kind of feel a little bit like they've been added to excuse it a little bit. Because there's a bit earlier on where someone's like, "Oh, you Brits, what is it you say? Keep calm and carry on." So it's like, so he is supposed to be British. So that's quite early. And then later on, but it's it's a weird one. But I'm glad I watched it, and I would, if you find a copy and you're up for a slightly under 2-hour film. The good thing about it, what I will say to finish it off. Although it's very clear that something is going to happen and it's the cracks are going to appear, those things happen quite early. It doesn't drag it out too much.
Right.
So it's quite quick that you're like, okay, something's going on. It doesn't lull you into a sense of false security.
Okay.
False sense of security. So at least it's not like an hour of normal stuff and then the other thing. Although that would be fun in some ways, but to market it, they have to show that there's something weird going on. Kind of thing. So it doesn't overstay its welcome, but it's just not a great film, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you have...
I don't. We've got a couple of Star Warsy things that I think we're going to save for next episode.
Yeah, we're both kind of at different points for them. So next week we'll do a big Star Wars fest, hopefully.
That's it.
Don't want to make any guarantees because things happen.
They do.
I did see a funny interview with Diego Luna on Jimmy Kimmel,
right?
And he was saying about
was that about R2D2?
Yeah. It's like because in Mexico they know him as Little Arthur because
it's Artulito,
which means Little Arthur in Mexican, and it sounds like R2D.
And then the guy that's there,
he's like, Artulito. I'm like, it's really quite adorable.
He's like Little Arthur,
and it makes sense that like for them to see R2D2 and think he's called Little Arthur. Yeah, sure.
Makes complete sense,
Yeah, I quite enjoyed that.
He seems like quite a likeable guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'm glad they kind of, I mean, we'll go into Andor more next week, but I'm glad they brought him back because he seems like a Star Wars fan that had a fun character in one film and
gets to live that out for 2 more seasons at minimum.
But yes, that brings the episode to a close.
Yes.
So if you enjoyed that, hopefully more than Sam enjoyed, don't worry, darling. Get onto your listening application and give us 5 stars. 4 stars wouldn't be bad. If you want to give a more realistic take, 4 stars would be good. And it might work with like the algorithm to make it look better, and it's not we've just been spamming bots of 5 stars. So maybe a couple of you give it 4 stars.
No. If anyone's gonna take the time to do it, you gotta give us.
You gotta give us 5 stars. Gotta give us 5 stars. You can also get in contact with us directly, can't you, Sam?
You can. If you want to send us any suggestions for future episodes, we were just off pod planning the next few episodes before Christmas.
And there is a gap or two.
We've got a couple of gaps. So if you want to reach out with any lovely recommendations, being topical or just some classics that we've missed out so far, you can reach us at the projectpod@gmail.com, or you can find us on most social medias in the episode description via the link tree.
Yep. Seemed like you were going to say something
I
else.
thought I was going to say something else as well. My brain froze up a little bit. But no, yeah, if you want to reach out to us, please do. We're also on YouTube, which may be where you're listening to this now. You can leave a little comment as well, and we'll try to read any of those out on the episode if there's anything interesting.
Yes.
But otherwise, we'll say thank you for listening this week.
Yes, thank you. And I will hear you, specifically you, not one of the others listeners, you in particular, you, yes, you. I will hear you next week.
And I'll see you next week, you goons.
You fucking goons.
Fucking goons.
Bye.
Bye.
You goons.
Bye, goons.